You may or may not know this. Today's gospel story of the feeding of the 5,000 is the only Bible story told in all four Gospels. And you got to figure if something's given to us even once in Scripture, we can trust that it has value to us in our lives because it's the inspired Word of God. But when the Holy Spirit repeats itself 4 times, then it must be because there's a lesson here for us of surpassing importance. And today I just want to focus on one detail of that story. When the great multitude came to Jesus in the wilderness, he had compassion on them because he saw that they were tired and hungry. It was late in the days, and his disciples suggested to him that he send the people home so that they could find something to eat. And Jesus answers, "They need not go away. You give them something to eat." And you know the rest of the story. They had only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. They give it to Jesus. He blesses and breaks it, hands it out to everybody, and they have enough for everyone to eat their fill, plus have 12 baskets left over. 5,000 men along with their families. And the disciples initially acted in a way that I'm sure I would. They made a very practical suggestion to Jesus. Send them away, Lord, so they can get some food. I mean, that's logical. The suggestion was not made from bad motives. In and of themselves, they knew they had no resources in order to meet the need. They had no food or money. What else could they do? They were pretty much helpless. And that's the situation that I want to focus on this morning. Because, just like his disciples, over and over again, Christ puts us in situations where we are helpless. And then he says, do something. That afternoon, the disciples did not see 500 people in need. They saw 5,000 problems that they couldn't solve. Most of us would have said the same thing. We're quick to see what we can't do, and quick to talk about what we don't have. The disciples saw the crowd and realized their inadequacy. And somehow they forgot that the Son of God was standing right there with them. But I love it when Jesus says, you give them something to eat. It's funny because the disciples have just gotten through explaining that they can't feed this massive crowd. You have to wonder if they're thinking, you want us to feed them? You got to be kidding. Didn't you hear what we just said? We don't have any food. We don't have any money. What part about we can't do this don't you understand, Lord? But Jesus wouldn't let them off the hook. He wants them to get involved in the great adventure of helping others. And this is how Jesus often works with his followers. Over and over again, he puts us in positions where we are helpless, and then he says, do something. In our desperation, we cry out to him, how? And he answers, I'm glad you asked. You see, it's not that Jesus wants us to fail, but he does want us to know that while without him we can do nothing, with him we can do the miraculous. And as I think about this miracle, one truth seems to stand above all the rest. If you like, you can call it the moral of the story. That God often puts us in situations where we are doomed to fail in order to force us to depend totally on him to carry out his will. This is a divine strategy repeated many times in the gospel and in our own experience. And we need this, you see, because we forget about him and we try to handle life on our own. And we are helpless on our own. We need him so that we can be fully who he created us to be, and so that we can do truly good things in this world. And oftentimes those good things that we can accomplish with his help were previously impossible things for us to do. But because of his help, they have turned into miraculous things that we accomplish. The fact that something is impossible is no excuse for not trying to do it. All too often we conclude that something can be done, so we don't bother trying. If Moses had taken that attitude, the Jews would still be in Egypt. If Joshua felt that way, the walls of Jericho would still be standing. If David had that opinion, Goliath would still be terrorizing the Israelites. You never know in advance what God may do, so don't rule out the possibility of a miracle coming your way if you try. God asks us to do the impossible, and then He gives us whatever we need to obey His command. Doesn't mean it will be easy. It most likely will be difficult. But He gives us what we need to get her done. Jesus often told His people to do impossible things. To the paralytic, He says, "Rise, take up your mat, and walk." To the dead man, He says, "Lazarus, come forth." So there's a sense that every command of God is impossible for us to obey. We always lack what we need to obey God's commandments. But God is faithful to us, and what He demands, He supplies for. So that when we offer our meager resources to Him, we discover that the impossible isn't so impossible because He has provided what was lacking. God will give us whatever we need to do His will. And He will do it in His own time, in His own way, according to His own will. The next time He says something to you like, you give them something to eat. Remember that He will give you whatever you need so that no one goes hungry. Exactly how He will do that, no one can say for sure. So fear not. Dream big dreams. Be bold. Take courage. And set out to carry God's will with great joy and hope in your heart. You have everything you need to do great things for God in this world. He has seen to it. Amen.